Spring has officially sprung. Project labor agreements continue to be a valuable tool, and a highway bill finally comes to the U.S. Congress. That and more in this edition of BCTD Now for the week of March 19th. But we start with a parody from operating engineers, Local 49 in Minnesota. By now, you're familiar with the attacks by Republicans on unions with their right-to-work law introductions, largely across the Midwest. The building trades believes these efforts are at the height of hypocrisy by conservatives, when you consider that they rail against welfare and other forms of governmental assistance that go to those that they claim don't pay for their fair share, but are in favor of a law which would allow workers to receive the benefits of representation and collective strength without having to pay for it. And strength is where the parody comes in. Local 49 has introduced the Right to Work Out law, in which health club members would no longer be required to pay for their membership, but still could use the equipment, lift weights, run on treadmills, and take classes. Of course, that wouldn't fly in the real world, so why do real right-to-work laws have so much support? Because they weaken unions, and conservatives see unions as the only viable check in their political aspirations to rule the nation. Parody removed a great real-world example of an escalating problem. Switching now to jobs, after years, a highway bill has finally begun to make progress in the U.S. Congress. The Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century Act, or the MAP 21, is a rare example of bipartisan progress, and in this instance, it's a critical infrastructure issue. On Wednesday, March 14th, the Senate did its part, passing a 2-year reauthorization by a wide 74-22 margin, with Davis-Bacon prevailing wage protections intact. And BCTD President Mark Ayers had this to say: "The past 4 years have been devastating to many of our members, not just because of crippling unemployment in the construction industry, but because they're painfully aware of our monumental infrastructure needs." Attention now shifts to the House of Representatives, which reconvenes this Monday, the 19th of March. Hopefully the House will take up the Senate-passed measure and move the bill in expedited fashion. With the strong base of extreme Tea Party members, only time will tell what will happen. The clock is ticking down to what some are calling Infrastructure-geddon. 2 PLA positive news items to finish this week's edition, the first coming from Pueblo, Colorado. About an hour and a half south of Denver, where the Pueblo Chemical Agent Destruction Pilot Plant Project has received OSHA recognition for contractor Bechtel Construction and Colorado's building trades unions and their dedication to the highest standards of safety. This job will end a major phase in the destruction of the U.S. Army's stockpile of chemical mustard agent. As you can imagine, very large, complicated, and a dangerous project completed by the best craftsmen and women in Colorado. And in Illinois, a new PLA has been signed that will enable the construction of a new high-voltage DC transmission line, delivering 3,500 megawatts of renewable power from neighboring states. That's enough to power 1.4 million homes. Construction will create 1,450 jobs beginning in 2014 at a price tag of nearly $7 billion. That's it for this edition. Remember, no matter how you choose to access BCTD content on your smartphone, tablet, or your computer, through Facebook or following President Mark Ayers on Twitter, the Building Trades is always on. See you next week.